Seattle will join the NHL in 2021 as the home of the league's 32nd franchise. An ownership group is paying $650 million for the team, along with another several hundred million to turn the city's old arena into a modern NHL venue. But as recently as 3 years ago, there seemed to be very little interest in paying a premium for a Seattle NHL team. That's not to say hockey is unpopular in the state of Washington, home to basically an entire division of the Western Hockey League. But the NHL was never the top priority in Seattle, which still longs for the return of an NBA franchise after the loss of their beloved Supersonics. However, by the end of 2017, all lights were green for NHL expansion to Seattle, and 12 months later, the city and the league made it official. So why the sudden change? Well, I have a theory.
Vegas! Vegas, baby! Vegas!
Gary Bettman doesn't care about hockey. He cares about one thing: putting more money in the bank accounts of his employers, the team owners. I suppose that isn't entirely fair. He does care about hockey insofar as it's what he uses to put more money in the bank accounts of team owners. If you need proof of this, look no further than the 3 lockouts he has overseen in his time as NHL commissioner. All 3 had the same financial motivations, things like a salary cap or contract limits, unless you're inclined to believe they needed to kill an entire season just to remove the 2-line pass rule and crack down on obstruction, in which case I have a bridge for sale that might interest you. Nearly 2 whole seasons worth of games were sacrificed for money, and if that's not enough proof, here's Exhibit B, the Phoenix/Arizona Coyotes. Now, this isn't a tired rant against Southern expansion, because it's produced enough success stories and it made Austin Matthews choose hockey as a kid, so I guess thank you, Bettman? That felt really weird to say. I need to wash my mouth out or something. Anyway, by 2009, the Coyotes were bankrupt, and there was no one interested in buying the team without also moving it. So Bettman and the league assumed ownership of the organization, hemorrhaging millions of dollars in operating costs for 4 years to prop up a team in a city that didn't want it, all to make the NHL more attractive in national television deal negotiations. The NHL is a business, and Bettman runs it like one, with an eye always on the bottom line. Which brings us to that $650 million expansion fee. It's difficult to pin down just how much an NHL franchise is worth. The only consistent source on the matter is Forbes, and the only thing consistent about their valuations is how inflated they are. Still, if we want any kind of picture of where the NHL stands financially, we have to deal with what they give us. According to the most recent Forbes valuation list, released in December, the NHL is booming. The average value of a franchise is up to $630 million, with many teams seeing double-digit increases in valuation over last season, and many more gains anticipated once the league signs a new American TV deal. But that average is skewed by the group of highly valued franchises in the top 10, none of which joined the league later than 1974, by the way, while the majority of teams are valued somewhere between $400 and $550 million. In fact, a much more telling average for our purposes would be the median, which is at $490 million. That's important in the context of Seattle, which has an MLB and an NFL franchise both valued around the medians of their respective leagues. So unless the NHL is expecting its median valuation to increase by around, say, 30% in the next 2 years, $650 million is most certainly a steep price tag for a team in Seattle. This is where the NHL got a little help from its other new member. Most people thought Vegas paid too much as well when their fee was $500 million, and all that bought them was a better expansion draft. No one saw their run to the finals coming, not even the people who built the team, and the wave of hype and goodwill that followed made the Golden Knights an instant success story on and off the ice. Forbes lists Vegas at $575 million now, which is seemingly based on the fact that the team cost $500 million and then made money in its first season, so therefore it must now be worth more than $500 million. That strikes me as some lazy accounting, since it's the type of valuation bubble that can easily be tanked by, say, a team from a far more popular league moving to town? I wonder if that's happening anytime soon. Anyway, how likely is it that Seattle will experience similar success to Vegas? Bettman and the league are selling the idea that it is possible, but in reality, Seattle faces a much steeper challenge, starting with the expansion draft. The rules of the draft are the same, but teams will be much less willing to make the same kinds of deals that help turn Vegas into an instant contender. When Seattle's GM, whoever he is, comes calling, Other general managers won't be as eager to protect certain players or dump contracts at the expense of picks or prospects. And it's safe to assume teams are hard at work figuring out creative new ways to shelter players from expansion draft exposure. Seattle will most likely have a lot more building to do after draft day than Vegas did. The Golden Knights made more than $53 million in their first season, but the majority of NHL franchises often struggle to break even. Without that instant jolt of success, would Seattle's balance sheet resemble Vegas's? Or will it be more like one of the 90s expansion franchises that occupy the bottom third of NHL team valuations? Look, this is all speculation based on some questionable numbers from Forbes, but I swear it serves a purpose. $650 million is a lot of money to pay for an NHL franchise, and it seems to me like instant success in Vegas had a big influence on Seattle's ownership group. I'm not saying that Seattle franchise will definitely fail on the ice or off the ice, and in fact I wish these new teams nothing but the best, because hockey is always more fun when more teams are good. All I'm trying to say is that the Golden Knights are like lightning in a bottle, and trying to capture that again strikes me as a flimsy business strategy. It could work out for Seattle, and I hope it does, but the only guaranteed winner in all of this is the league. Bettman put a team in Vegas for $500 million, and he turned that team's incredible inaugural run into an even bigger return from Seattle. Between the two expansion fees, he added more than $38 million to the coffers of each of the 30 existing franchises. Seattle could succeed, or fail, but the NHL won't be worried about any of that so long as the check clears. So what do you think? Is an NHL team in Seattle worth $650 million? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.